Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
One of the most shocking and possibly the dumbest things I have ever seen on the internet.
He let his best friend shoot him.
Was that dumb?
It was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life.
His parents say he's immature,
You've moved back home. How old are you?
26.
but he blames them for keeping him a kid.
If you guys spoiled him.
I think the schools failed him. I think we did a good job.
Are y'all serious?
All-new Dr. Phil.
This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
It matters to you. That's what I want to talk about. Are we ready in the booth? Let's do it. Go, Dr. Phil. Well, it's Ask Dr. Phil today, and we're tackling issues you're having from fake Facebook pages to posting videos on YouTube that become a big regret, huge regret. One of the most shocking and possibly the dumbest things I have ever seen on the internet belongs to 26-year-old Ben, who takes a bullet to the chest while wearing a Kevlar vest. We'll show you that video in a minute because his parents say that clip is just another immature move on their son's part. He's a grown man who keeps moving back in with his parents.
Benjamin hasn't ever lived on his own to my knowledge, unless you count sleeping in a car for 3 nights. Every time he runs out of money, job, or nobody else wants him, he comes back to us.
I wish I was responsible at this point in my life, but I am not.
We have just recently cut Benjamin off financially. Right now he's living with his boss.
Just floating from place to place and flopping wherever is comfortable.
My job right now is a karaoke host. Get paid $75 per show.
When Benjamin does live with us, the only thing that he contributes is chaos. He doesn't contribute any money. He doesn't help with the dishes. He doesn't help vacuum. He doesn't do anything. He won't brush his teeth for several days. He'll go a week without taking a shower. We try to make it real tough for him when he's here so that he'll leave. One time we found out that he didn't have any money because he'd bought Valentine presents for 7 women. When Benjamin's living with us, I feel like I'm babysitting him.
I absolutely feel like Benjamin takes advantage of us.
He's pretty pitiful when he comes back here, very needy. And first thing I want to do is fatten him up. When our phone rings and you can see that it's Benjamin, my heart just starts beating and my stomach drops. We don't want to answer it because we know he's calling for something. Yeah, we do feel taken advantage of. We feel screwed. I don't like to say that word, but he knows what that means.
Okay. You do know what that means, right?
I do.
And you think they should feel that way?
Yes and no. I did manipulate back in the day. I try not to. I'm trying to grow up, but at the same time, I still have my old past of...
Yeah, so how old are you?
26.
26. And you've moved back home?
Several times. I've moved
A
back.
dozen times, Tom?
Yes, sir.
A dozen times.
At least 12 times, yeah.
I don't keep record of it.
So was he born this way, or have you guys spoiled him?
He was not born this way. No way. He was very responsible.
But you teach him how to treat you, right? I mean, you guys raised him. Whatever he is, good and bad, and there's a lot of good about Ben, right?
Right.
There's a lot of things you're really proud of about him. But whatever it is, you guys have written on the slate of who he is. You taught him to follow through or not, to do what he says or not, to stand on his own or not. I mean, didn't y'all teach him that?
Yes, sir, I think we did.
So why are we here? What happened?
I think the schools failed him. I think we did a good job because we were there to, Benjamin, do your homework. Benjamin, go take the trash out. Benjamin, make your bed. But then, if he doesn't do his homework, the teachers were like, well, okay, we'll just give you a 0. But then in the end, they would help him through at the last minute.
Are y'all serious? You say this is the school's fault?
No.
Some of their fault.
Well, you say no. You say, yeah, that's just what she said. I could play it back. She just said, I think it's the school's fault. Think about that. Maybe you'll reconsider. Ben says his parents have to take responsibility in how he turned out. Let's listen to what he has to say.
I think my parents pretty much raised me to be a kid instead of an adult. My parents didn't teach me a lot of commitment. I was put into martial arts as a kid, excelled in it. They pulled me out of it. Put me in gymnastics, pulled me out of it. Little League, pulled me out of it. Never got to play a game. My parents are responsible for me not being independent, for not allowing me to continue in the sports and the extracurricular activities as a child. The stability of, you start something and you finish it. My father is a workaholic. When I was younger, I had to schedule a meeting to see my dad at his work. I had made up this fake name. I walk in the door, he realizes it's me and not Mr. So-and-so, sits me down in the chair and goes back to work. I was crushed. I wanted to spend time with my dad, and he would rather work. I feel that my mom is controlling. If she could just, back off, enjoy her life, let me be me. Let me make my mistakes, let me learn.
Now, Ben blames his parents for raising him to be a kid, not an adult. He blames his parents for raising him to be a kid, teaching him to never commit to anything, dad not giving him attention that he wanted, mom being too controlling. So you've got this all figured out.
Well, we've gone to counseling as family. We've gone to counseling separate. And
they told you were a victim?
Yes and no. Pretty much that I was raised to be a child, that I wasn't raised to be an adult.
Right, and then, but once y'all all figured that out, and then what did the therapist say to do? Because we've gone through this analysis, we figured that out. They decided, you and the therapist decided that they raised you to be a child instead of a responsible adult, and the therapist said, and therefore now you must
be out on my own, not try and get money from them or go back home. I need to grow up and not go back. But you said you've gone back. I have gone back
a dozen times.
Several times, yes.
So the therapy didn't work?
No, this was a while ago. Me moving back and forth. Therapy was within the past year.
Yeah. And how many jobs have you had?
A bunch.
Ben's mother, Barbie, says that a list of the jobs she can remember Ben having, she came up with 36. Driving delivery trucks, fitting tuxedos, selling flags at a festival, general contracting, yard work, computers, flooring, pet supplies, handyman, bouncer, karaoke. The list goes on and on. So you apparently can get jobs because you've gotten, we counted 36 on that list. So you obviously can get jobs, so you must be a good interviewer.
Very good interviewer.
But what's the problem with keeping them?
I'd honestly say it's probably my attitude issues. I do have a temper. I've been trying to work on that, but when I go into a job and I'm working for them and I don't agree with what one of their policies is or how they handle something, it hits me hard, and then I have issues with it, and I don't respect them. So,
do you think you use good judgment in that?
Yes and no. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and that's why I've lost jobs. So I recognize that. I understand it.
Do you get, so I just have to say something about what you said earlier, because you said, we did the right things. We said, Ben, do your homework. Ben, get up. Ben, do this. Ben, right. Okay? Do you recognize that becomes the stimulus for him doing it instead of self-starting? And then when you're not there, then there's nobody to say, there's nothing to start it. There's kind of a stimulus response. The stimulus is mom or dad says, do your homework, take a bath, get up, go do this, go do that. You're the alarm clock of his life. And when you're not ringing, then he ain't moving, because that's become the pattern. That's become the stimulus for what he's doing.
That's true. I hadn't thought about it that way.
So, but you see, that's the problem with parents that become the motivator, parents that become the alarm clock. You get what I'm saying, Tom?
Yes, sir.
And so then when that goes away, because your job is to prepare him for the next level.
Yes.
That's your job as parents. When they're little kids, we prepare them to speak. and we prepare them to use the potty chair. We prepare them to feed themselves. We then prepare them to get them to read and all of this. You're preparing them for the next level, and what you and your therapist decided is they didn't do that. They prepared you just to be a child, not for the next level of adult self-sufficiency.
Correct. Pretty much they were behind me for school and wanted me to do my schoolwork before I could do anything, which is normal for any kid, so I'm not in disagreement with that. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, okay. I got some more to say about that. All right, we're going to take a break. Coming up, I'm going to show you one of the dumbest things I have ever seen on home video in all of my years. I've been doing this a long time.
When I get frustrated with Benjamin, I'll open Benjamin's windows and throw all of his stuff from his bedroom out there. I'll put all of his stuff in black bags and put it by the curb. Since that's not a very mature way of handling things, I've learned just to go in my closet and curl up and cry.
Well, Ben's parents want their 26-year-old to grow up. Now, he says the reason he's not is their fault. He said, they didn't raise me to be an adult, they raised me to be a child, and so I behave like a child. Now, he's living on an inflatable mattress at his boss's house now, but his mother says he'll try to get back into her house again soon enough. Now, what you're about to see is going to leave you shaking your head. Ben decided to do an experiment with a bulletproof vest that just left his parents mortified. Now, obviously, do not try this at home.
Benjamin went to the police academy. We were really excited for him going.
Police Academy was the best schooling I ever had. So they forked out a lot of money for me to go to the police academy.
When he finished the police academy, he had this desire to find out what it felt like to be shot.
Live round, hit a bullet, 9mm. Get out there.
So he put his bulletproof vest on.
Looked like from the video they'd been drinking quite a bit.
No, I don't love you, Mom. Ready?
And let his best friend shoot him.
Holy Holy
I didn't know that the bullet was going to go through the bulletproof vest.
Did it go through or not?
He was bleeding from the chest.
It was a dumb stunt.
I just thought, how stupid. You're not thinking, son, God might as well take him because he's worthless right now. That's not nice, but it's so true.
Okay. Now, the bullet went through the vest. We saw it bleeding. At least your friend there, who I guess is going to be on my short list of idiots, at least he chose to test this out by shooting you in the heart.
We had tested out the backside of the vest on drywall hung up on a tree, and shot several different rounds through the backside of the vest. That way the front side would not get penetrated or not get tarnished. So we shot it with 22, 9mm, 30-06, and 12-gauge shotgun, bird shot. Well, the shotgun and the 30-06 went straight through the vest, straight through the drywall, and I'm like, screw that, I'm out. The 22 and the 9mm stayed in the vest and indented the drywall, didn't break the drywall, didn't shatter the drywall at all, so that's why I'd opted for that to happen.
Well, very responsible of you. Now, this went 1.5 inches into your chest.
Yes, sir.
Now, I got a whole audience full of military guys over here. They're just shaking their heads. I mean, they do this for real. You're out there shooting yourself on purpose. Was that dumb?
It was very dumb. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life.
And when you sat down here, when you came in and sat down in the chair at the top of the show, you sat down and you went like this. Does it still hurt?
Oh, it doesn't hurt. My heart's pounding from being on your show.
You thinking it might come out through the hole?
No, it's healed up, so.
Now, by the way, so nobody takes this wrong. You said at the end, God might as well take him because he's worthless now. You went on to say, well, I do say that, but I do have hope for him. I have hope that he's going to grow up, that he's going to get out of this, he's going to put it behind him, he's going to thrive, he's going to excel, and I know that he can be awesome.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's just your frustration talking.
Oh, yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
want anything bad. I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
What needs to happen here in y'all's view?
That's why we're here.
Would you like to know what I think?
Yeah.
Would you really? I've been doing
Yes.
this for 35
Oh,
years,
yeah.
and I hope y'all are very proud of Ben, because I think he's obviously got a lot of personality. He's he's intelligent.
Yes, he is.
He's articulate.
So to speak.
Capable.
A lot of what he says doesn't make sense, but he says it well. But here's the deal: necessity is the mother of invention.
Mm-hmm.
And if you continue propping him up like you have been, make no mistake, you're doing it for you. You're not doing it for him. You're doing it to salve your own guilt. You're doing it to make yourself feel better, because it's not helping him. So next time you do that, next time he's knocking on your door and wanting to move in for the 13th time, you need to change the locks. You need to say no, because necessity is a mother of invention, and he has skills. If you two fell off the face of the earth, do you think he would dry up and blow away?
No.
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 He would do what he had to do, right?
Yeah.
You would do what
would
you
be
had to do.
fine.
You eventually are going to get some traction. You're going to get a job. You're probably going to get married to somebody, and you're going to have children, and hopefully
woman.
you're going to do something with your children that gives them a chance to do this. But none of that's going to start as long as you let him go backwards. But he's 26 years old. And it is time for him to stand on his own. And if it turns out that he's a welder's assistant
That's great.
in Wink, Texas, then he winds up being a welder's assistant in Wink, Texas. It's honest work. It's a good job. And if that's all he aspires to, then that's it. If he decides he wants to be a brain surgeon, then let him do that. But you have got to stop doing. What do you hear me say when I say you're doing this for you, not for him?
It makes us feel better about when we help him, it makes us feel better.
And you think, well, he's safe and he's home, and
I can fatten him up.
And I can fatten him up, and I've got some control here.
When he's with us, yes, I do have control.
No, you don't. You just think you do, because he blows you off. He tells you what you want to hear and does what he wants to do. Come on.
That's true.
Yes,
You don't
okay.
have any control. He just tells you enough that you want to hear to get away with what he wants to do. True?
Very true.
If you're living in our house, you're going to abide by our rules, or else you can get miserable and leave.
Well, aren't you tough?
I tried to be.
Let's get tough before he moves in. Seriously, it's
Yeah.
time to stop doing this.
Yeah.
You have parented, and then you have reparented, and you reparented and re-reparented, but really it is time for him to do it. If he goes and exploits his boss and lives on an inflatable mattress in his boss's floor, that's between him and his boss.
Absolutely.
That's between him and his boss. If that guy wants to do that, if he wants to be used in that way, then let him be used in that way. But you two have to say, I love you, I'm in your balcony, I'll clap for everything productive you do, but you're not going to do it here.
That's it.
I'm not going to finance you. I'm not going to co-sign for you. You're going to ride the bus. If you can't afford a car, you're going to live on the floor somewhere or couch surf, but you're not coming back here. You've got to draw the line. And at some point, Mr. Philosophical, with a hole in your chest, if you have all of these issues of principle with regard to your jobs and you quit, check your pocket before you quit. Check your pocket before you quit, because it's hard to eat principle. But if you can afford it, do it, or find you a job where they aspire to your ideals.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at right now. Like right now, I work for 2 different karaoke companies. I'm about to start doing a data entry for one of them, and also doing an assistant for their father. So like it's all one big happy family. So I'm there working. I'm staying busy. Also help out with childcare with both families.
Well, that's great, because you know a lot of things to not do, right?
Yes.
On the parenting side, because you've got a list. You and your therapist made a list of all their mistakes. So as you provide child care, you can make sure that you don't do these things.
Oh, yeah.
So you're all over it. Up next, find out what happened when someone made a fake Facebook page with graphic photos claiming to be a 17-year-old girl. You can only imagine what happened next. Well, as It's Ask Dr. Phil about the internet today. 17-year-old Caitlin found herself in a horrible web of lies when she discovered a fake Facebook page someone had made about her.
A couple months ago, I got a text from my friend saying there was this person that was supposedly me that had put nude pictures up onto Facebook.
The first thing I thought was, oh my God, Caitlin, what have you done? Once we started looking at it more, I could tell it wasn't her. We believe that this girl took pictures of herself to get back at Caitlin because of an issue over a boy.
I was livid that somebody would be impersonating someone like Caitlin.
It borders right on the edge of pornography, and this Facebook page that was created, they put her phone number.
I started getting calls from perverts telling me how good I looked in the picture and that they wanted to meet up with me and do stuff. It definitely scared me.
I called the deputy prosecuting attorney. He said it was a waste of his time. When I asked him what he would do if it was his daughter, he told me it's not his daughter, and he hung up on me.
I have lost friends. My grades have dropped to Fs. I'm not focused on anything else but if there's somebody waiting at my house for me.
She used to be carefree and loving, and now she is just like she's in a shell and she's scared.
Well, Caitlin is here with her grandmother, Vicki. Now, her mom, Laura, is joining us on the phone. So let me get this right. Somebody created a Facebook page that was not you. I mean, it wasn't your page. You had nothing to do with it. Somebody just put it up there. And this site was provocative. It had provocative pictures on it.
Yes. Whenever I first went downstairs and told my mom, once we got onto the site, as soon as I started looking at the pictures, I couldn't look anymore. I had to walk outside of the room.
Obviously, this made you sick because you knew people would think this was you.
I had guys that I didn't even know come up to me and ask if they wanted to, if I could be with them so we could go and do stuff.
All right, so, and they put down how to contact you, right?
Put down my phone number.
They actually posted your phone number here.
And where I went to school.
So men started showing up.
At our house, they started driving by. They linked it to where we lived. I kept getting calls. They're sitting outside of my house waiting for me to get home. And my mom was home. And we had to increase security. We got cops driving up and down our road. And they started going away, but now that they're gone, they're coming back.
Okay, now you saw, I mean, obviously she withdrew, became very fearful.
Yes. She used to be really outgoing. We're trying to let her know it's not her fault. There's just some pervert out there that decided to post the website, and she's withdrawing so much.
Caitlin's mother, Laura, is on the phone. Laura, thanks for joining us. What have you seen take place here with your daughter?
Well, she's very withdrawn. Her teachers have said that she's distant in class. She's just a different kid. I'm afraid I'm going to lose her.
Caitlin, this has hit particularly close to you. You were restricted from going to Facebook for a year. Why?
I got grounded from the internet because I did end up talking to someone on the internet that I'd never met before. And whenever we did eventually meet, it did turn out that he was who he said he was. We did meet in a public place, but it's still that I talked to him without knowing him first. I had never met him.
You met somebody in the real world that you had met on the, you didn't know them?
No.
Just somebody you started talking to on the internet and convinced you to come and meet them in person. Really bad idea, right?
Yeah.
You get that. Now, tell me about your friend, because you had a friend that did the same thing.
If you guys haven't already heard, her name was Casey Woody. Her dad is Officer Woody. She was home alone one night and was talking to this supposedly 17-year-old boy, and he faxed her a picture of himself, or supposedly himself, they had got stolen from somebody else. And she gave him her address, her name, the directions to her house, and he came and abducted her, raped her, and murdered her right before her dad got there.
So you get that this is
Yeah.
serious business. Now, David Gingras is here, and he's a lawyer that works in this internet world. David, somebody creates a false Facebook page for her, puts these provocative, revealing pictures and her identifying information, and they're coming around her house. Where's the line drawn? I mean, that's not okay to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it matters that we figure out where the line is on that one, because clearly that was crossed. That's probably a crime that occurred there, and I think Facebook should have and probably did deal with it very quickly. They're normally they didn't.
No. It took over 2 weeks for them to take down the site.
That's right. It took 2 weeks before they finally did take it down, and the deputy prosecuting attorney told me that it was a waste of manpower to go after anything less than a felony and that he would not pursue it.
However, if she was kidnapped and murdered, then he would, because that he considered a felony.
Right. All right. So do you think teenagers should be allowed to have a Facebook account? Go to drphil.com now. Take our poll and let us know your thoughts. Now, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, we're going to talk to Deputy Prosecutor and find out why he has not prosecuted this case as yet. We'll be right back. Dr. Phil about the internet today. Someone made a fake Facebook page with graphic pictures claiming to be 17-year-old Caitlin. It was not her. Her identity was stolen. This was fabricated. It wasn't her. Now, her mother, Laura, and her grandmother, Vicki, got the police involved, but they say that Deputy Prosecutor Jesse Thompson won't pursue the case. Now, Jesse Thompson is joining us by phone. Thanks so much for being here. Can you talk to us about why this case has not been prosecuted as yet?
Well, from my point of view, it hasn't been prosecuted by me because I haven't had any information about the case. I talked to Ms. Howell on Monday, yesterday afternoon, for the first time since apparently she called my office 2 or 3 months ago. She has, however, had an investigator working on this case, and he was investigating this with an eye toward filing a felony. And they determined they couldn't file a felony over there. I am the misdemeanor prosecutor here. I don't prosecute felonies. And I'm not sure exactly how she got referred to me or exactly when the conversation that she says we had on the telephone might have occurred. But I've not had in my hands any information dealing with this case.
Well, Mr.
So
Thompson,
right now it's an open case as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Mr. Thompson, let me clear something up here, because I've worked with law enforcement and prosecutors year after year after year, and I've yet to find one of you guys that didn't want to catch the bad guys and hold them accountable for what they're doing. So I don't question at all that given the proper information, you would do whatever you could to pursue this case if it's pursuable. Is that true?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And when these things happen like this, where somebody creates this web page, they use these provocative pictures, and she's underage, and they actually essentially steal her identity, and people start coming to her house. Is this something people should contact the authorities about? Are there things that you can do if you have the right information?
Yes, I'd have to say yes. Now, I will give you a caveat. Arkansas, to the best of my knowledge, does not have a cyberbullying statute.
Right.
We don't have good statutes in Arkansas at this juncture to deal with this kind of thing. We have some statutes, I believe, related to credit card theft over the internet, that kind of thing. But we do not really have a statute designed to handle the kind of thing we're dealing with right here.
Is there nothing that the Arkansas authorities can offer Caitlin and her family to pursue this at this point? Is that what you're saying? Are they going down a dead-end street?
Not necessarily. I'll receive whatever information I can from them, and I'm going to attempt to work with Officer Rice now that I know that he has a file on this case, and I'm going to attempt to subpoena whatever I can from Facebook.
The ultimate thing here is that my daughter is safe. Right now, these people have put her safety in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
There are men driving by my house. There were people calling her, speaking vulgar to her. and her safety is in jeopardy. And I want my daughter to know that people are going to face consequences for what they did. There's no reason that she should be facing the consequences for these people's actions. You know, she is a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo, and she knows how to defend herself physically, but I don't think anybody is prepared to defend themselves mentally against this.
Laura, let me interrupt you here, and I do want everybody to know, when you get into these situations, you have got to have evidence. You've got to go through the process. You've got to get the subpoenas. You've got to get the information, track these people down, and then you've got to prove that they're the ones that did it. It's not as easy as it seems. And I'm not trying to defend law enforcement here, but I'm just telling you, this isn't as easy as it seems. David, is this true?
You're absolutely right. When you talk about the civil side of lawsuits like this, it can take months and months and months and tens of thousands of dollars to pursue an anonymous author. And if you don't have that money, you got to pay for it yourself. That's a big hurdle right there.
I agree, and my whole point of it is that we've been dealing with this for, you know, since the end of August, and his comment to me was, it wasn't worth his time, and my daughter's life is not worth his time. This could have all been avoided if he would have just given the okay to get the subpoena, and we could get this from Facebook.
All right, Mr. Thompson, Mr.
Thompson, I can't prosecute over the telephone.
No.
And I have no problem dealing with this lady, but she's going to have to present herself to me, and I need to see her daughter, and I need to gather the information that's been gathered on this because it's not been presented to me.
Okay, will you take that meeting if they call you to set it up?
Absolutely.
Okay, so will y'all do that? Will you? I mean, I don't know what's happened, and it doesn't make any difference. You can go back and forth and bicker all you want, but we have to focus on is where we are now. And Mr. Thompson is saying he will take that meeting. If you will come in, you will file the complaints, you will sign the proper documents, you will bring copies of everything, give it to him, so he has something in his hand that he can take and present to a judge to get a subpoena to start the process going. That's what needs to happen.
I'll be down there this week.
All right, then we'll move forward on that. Mr. Thompson, thank you for being with us today and talking about this, and we'll stay posted on what takes place here.
Very good.
All right, next, a Facebook mystery that's turned into a movie. We'll be right back. Well, it's Ask Dr. Phil Day. It's not just vengeful teens and 20-somethings who are lying their way onto the internet. A new documentary is captivating audience with a Facebook romance that has quite a twist.
Hello?
Hey, Megan?
Hi, how are you?
Your voice is not at all what I expected. I'm good. Last night we had a great talk. Megan is a dancer. She sings. Her sister is an artist. This is the painting of Angela that she did. That's the mom? Yeah. Wow. I know. She's hot. The Facebook family. Well, that's what we'll call them. I really cared about this girl. And had a real conversation with her. So what's the next move?
I think we drive up to Megan's farm in Michigan.
This is it. This is it. Just pull up.
Do you want to drive into the driveway?
Yeah. I'm a little scared. This place gives me the creeps. Let's go. You've just found like the tip of the iceberg.
All right, well, Neve is here. Tell me what happened here. You first get this contact, and you believe that it's from an 8-year-old girl.
That's right. I'm a photographer in New York City, and I do a lot of ballet photography. And I had a photo published in a newspaper.
Right.
And a couple weeks later, I got an email from a MySpace profile of an 8-year-old girl saying, I saw this picture, I really liked it, and I'd like to do a painting of your photograph. So I responded and thought it was sort of charming and adorable. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, I received a little watercolor in the mail, along with an email and contact from Abby's mother, Angela.
The 8-year-old's mother?
That's right.
Angela.
Yeah, because at first, of course, I was a little concerned about communicating with such a young girl over the internet.
Right.
And in fact, my mother was also concerned for me. And so she called Angela, the mother, in Michigan, very early on to just sort of make sure that they knew what was going on and that I was, involved. After a couple months of corresponding with Abby and her mother, Angela, I kept hearing about the rest of her friends and family. And so I encouraged them to find me on Facebook so that we could all be in contact. And the first person that I met was Abby's older half-sister, Megan, who was 19.
Her older half-sister.
Right. And at the time, I was 23.
Right.
And Megan was a talented, artistic, and very attractive young girl. And started sort of contacting me in a somewhat flirtatious way. And over the next few months, we sort of developed a online romance, if you will.
All right, great. So what happened when Nev first spoke to Megan on the phone, and find out if he was able to track her down? We'll be right back. Well, we're talking about the documentary Catfish. Now, let's take a look at the moment when Nev talks to Megan. Now, understand, Abby got in touch with him. She's 8. And then he talked to the mother, Angela. Now he's talking to half-sister Megan, who's 19, when he's 23. And finally, he gets to talk to her on the phone.
Hey, Megan?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Nev.
Hi, how are you?
Your voice is not at all what I expected.
I'm sorry.
No, really, it's a terrific voice. I don't know. I guess you never really think of a voice when you only know somebody in a certain way. I happen to think my voice is sort of irritating. Oh, thank you.
So you're kind of a smitten kitten there. You were motivated enough that you tracked her down.
That's right. So eventually,
because obviously a very attractive girl, because you've seen her picture, you've talked to her, you've exchanged, so you like her. So what happens when you track her down?
We knock on the door, and we find a family. We find Angela, the mother. But of course, she doesn't look anything like the Facebook profile of Angela. And then we meet Vince, who's Angela's husband, and he doesn't look like Vince. And funny enough, shortly after that, we met Abby. And in fact, Abby was this beautiful, very sweet 9-year-old at the time girl, but she had no idea who I was. So I had not been corresponding with her for 9 months. Angela, the mother, had created a profile as her daughter, as an 8-year-old. Got great feedback, including some from me, and when she met me and saw my enthusiasm and I guess became attracted to me, she then decided she wanted to start a romantic relationship. So she created Megan's profile. And then in an effort to make that profile seem more realistic, she created 15 other people and took photos from other people's MySpace profiles and was posting between each other and G-chatting with me as different people at the same time.
So who was Megan?
So Megan, Abby, Tim, Ryan, Alex, Joelle, all these people were this one woman, Angela.
And she was how old?
She's 40.
Okay. So you're loading your stuff back up to go to Michigan. Or did you ask her, whose picture did you use for Megan and where can I find her?
Immediately upon meeting Angela, we could see that she was a wonderful person. Although she had gotten carried away online, in addition to caring for Abby, she cares for her husband's 2 severely handicapped twin sons, who are also coincidentally 19. And she gave up her life to be their caregiver. Well, and it became very clear that the story was no longer about my broken heart, but about this woman's life, and why she did what she did, and why the internet allowed her to escape and express herself.
But the point is, you don't know who you're talking to on the internet. I mean, seriously, you don't know who you're talking to, and so you've got to be very, very careful about that. In this case, it was benign. But in the case of your friend and you, it certainly could have been very, very dangerous. Be sure to check out Nev's documentary, Catfish, at your local theater. Catfish. This is interesting. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. I want to thank all of my guests today. Make sure you see Neve's documentary, Catfish. You will really be intrigued by this. It's very well done. It is worth your while. For more information about this show, go to drphil.com. You can find me on my blog or on Twitter. Thanks for being here. So long. Yes, it is. Headlines in decades. 4 adults held captive, starved in a basement in Philadelphia.
One of them was chained to a boiler.
These are the most hideous things that I have ever seen.
My exclusive interview with the alleged ringleader's son and brother.
I was a victim of Linda. She shoved me inside an oven.
Plus the tour inside the House of Horrors.
And this is the room where they were at.
And from a basement of horrors to this upscale suburban home.
It was a house of torture for 2 16-year-old twins who were beaten, starved, and locked in a room, according to the police.
The neighbors would hear screaming, crying for mercy.
These twins were disturbingly thin. They stole food from your house.
Yes, my mom told us, do not tell the parents. I think that they would beat the children.
Let's do it. If we're going to do something here that matters, then we got to deal with the truth.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
If I can help get this family back on track, are you willing to do that?
Ready for you. Take.
This is going to be a changing day in your life. Take a look at these images. This is the boiler room of a basement where police say 4 grown adults, 1 woman and 3 men, were held captive. 1 victim was found chained to the boiler, and all showed signs of starvation and abuse. How could something so horrifying happen in a big city apartment building? People coming and going. It's been called the House of Horrors. Take a look.
Inside this apartment building, police found 4 mentally challenged adults, a female and 3 males. Police say they were emaciated, bruised, and held captive in a boiler room the size of a bedroom.
The mere fact that individuals would treat disadvantaged people like this is just ridiculous. It just simply makes us sick.
Officials say it was a handyman for the apartment building who discovered the handicapped adult Saturday morning living in deplorable conditions. So far, 3 people have been arrested, a 51-year-old man from Texas, a 48-year-old man from Philadelphia, and a woman who police say is the ringleader.
We're just glad that we found these people when we did.
The investigators suspect the abuse went far beyond the sub-basement. They brought in 8 children and 4 adults. Police now believe 3 of the 4 victims may have been held for as long as 6 years. The suspects pocketing their Social Security earnings.
That was real dirty of you. That was wrong.
41-year-old Derwin McLemire is the one police found chained to a boiler. Tamara Breeden and Herbert Knowles were also there. They say 50-year-old Linda Weston did this to them.
She hit me with a bat in my head, and all this was all bleeding and everything. And she did this to me too. Linda Weston, hit me with a bat.
Police say the investigation that began now stretches to Virginia, where in 2008, a woman, believed held by the 3 suspects while they stole her Social Security earnings, was found dead.
There is one individual that we know passed away while in her care.
Meanwhile, sources say before the victims were allegedly imprisoned here, they were kept in the attic of a home in Killeen, Texas, where one of the victims, Tamara Breeden, has told investigators she gave birth to a baby girl. After they moved to this home in West Palm Beach, Breeden, sources say, has told officers she gave birth to a boy. The sources indicate there are no records she received any medical or hospital care during either pregnancy or birth. alleged ringleader, Linda Weston, police say, is suspected of changing the names of both of Breeden's children in order to receive financial benefits. Police Commissioner Ramsey says getting proper care for Breeden's 2 children and finding any others still missing are top priorities of the growing investigation.
Well, joining us via satellite from Philadelphia in front of the House of Horrors is CBS 3 Eyewitness News reporter Walt Hunter. I'd like to know the latest. I understand there was a hearing, which was the first appearance for the suspects in this case. What took place?
Preliminary mental competency hearing, Dr. Phil. It does appear at this point that one of the suspects, the main suspect, the alleged ringleader, Linda Weston, most likely will have to undergo a psychiatric evaluation. 2 male alleged accomplices, perhaps not. Everything is going to be moving forward now toward a preliminary hearing date in December. Dr. Phil, that's when the prosecution will take the majority of their evidence, put it out publicly, and attempt to have these 3 and a 4th suspect also held for trial, and hoping to get the judicial system moving forward. The day after the arrest, Dr. Phil, the Philadelphia Daily News here ran a one-word headline with Weston's picture on the front page. It read simply, "Monster." And there are very few people right now in this city, knowing what they know, that would disagree with that headline.
Well, can you tell me how this went down initially? Because I know you've been involved from the very beginning. I understand that someone went into this sub-basement, lifted a blanket, and found these people staring back at them. Do we know any idea how long they had been there, and how did this all go down from the beginning?
Well, Dr. Phil, they had been here in the building behind me in a sub-basement, 15 by 15 feet, maybe for about 2.5 weeks. It was dark. The light bulbs had been removed. One of the people was chained to a boiler. Believe it or not, Dr. Phil, it was a dog bowl that led to them being found. A janitor going in and saying, "What's this dog bowl doing in this grimy sub-basement?" When the janitor saw the dog bowl, he went up, thought about it, investigated, came back, and when he brought down a flashlight, he looked into their faces, saw the victims that had been in the basement, and immediately called police.
These 4 people that had been down there, I understand that the belief is they had been in a sub-basement for a couple of weeks, but had possibly been missing for a number of years. Was there any family looking for these people? Were they registered as missing anywhere? Had these people just fallen through the cracks? Or how do 4 people just go off the radar and nobody says anything?
Lots of holes in the safety net here, Dr. Phil, lots of holes.
All right, now what I'm interested in, and I think my viewers are interested in, this woman, Linda Weston, that is alleged to be the ringleader here and is accused of kind of taking these people's freedom in order to get their Social Security money. I understand now that's been proven, that that's all alleged at this point. But was she or was she not spending 8 years in prison previously for keeping someone captive in a very similar fashion and starving him to death? Is that the story on Linda Weston?
Convicted, Dr. Phil, of slowly and agonizingly starving to death for 2 months the boyfriend of her sister. Both she and her sister did terms for murder before Weston was paroled. She then violated that parole several times, according to court records, but was never put back behind bars. So sooner or later, she's back on the street. Keep in mind that while this man was being slowly and agonizingly murdered in this closet by Weston and her sister, children tried to go help him. They tried to slip food under the door to the dying man, and when one of them was caught, according to an account in the local newspaper, Weston broke her siblings' toes as a penalty for doing that. And then when the man finally died, when the man finally passed away, one of the siblings was tasked with taking the body out and disposing of it. That was the beginning of the horrors, and they're horrors that appear to continue right through this day, and there are horrors that we don't even know about yet.
Well, I tell you what, we actually have Linda Weston's brother, Josh, and one of her sons, Robert, involved in today's show. We're going to look at a piece of tape where they describe this reign of terror that started over 30 years ago. And Walt, I'm going to ask you to stay with us if you can. Let's take a look at this.
Linda Weston is my sister. When I first heard that this had happened, I wasn't surprised at all. I knew Linda did it just by the description the media gave. After my mother had passed away, the family pretty much fell apart, especially Linda. It's like she lost her mind. When I was growing up, I witnessed and I was a victim of violence at the hands of Linda. I was beaten at times and denied food and just a lot of horrific, unspeakable things. I was tied up for more than 6 hours at a time to days. I have a scar from my sister Linda. She shoved me inside of an oven and turned it on. Over 75% of my body burned. My sister Linda is an extremely dangerous person if given the right opportunity and circumstances. She would find these mentally challenged people by going out and just scoping and probing and picking out the ideal candidates. My sister Linda used to skillfully place things in people's drinks and food just to sedate them and render them helpless.
My mother is an old case where she murdered my aunt's boyfriend. She was sentenced to 8 years in prison. Back in 1981, I was maybe about 4 or 5 at the time. She had starved him to death, beat him with a hammer.
My sister Linda had wrestled him in the closet, tied him up, and just forced him to do what she wanted him to do and denied him food. And as with anyone, if you deny them food, you become weak.
I see this other guy in the closet when I was younger, but it really didn't dawn on me that something was wrong at the time.
He was pretty much trying to survive in that closet alone. I remember I used to hear scratching on the door with him trying to get out. I used to hear it every so often throughout the day until one day it stopped. It was very scary and horrible for a child. I remember smelling a foul odor in the entire apartment. My sister ordered us to take the body and dump it in an abandoned house. That was very horrific, just touching a dead person and someone that I knew, that I talked to.
Eventually, she went to jail for it. She was sentenced. She got out maybe 8 years later.
Linda's easy to talk to, and she's a master at befriending you. But once you're in her grasp, she's like a black widow. It's hard to get out.
I believe she's an evil person. If she gets out again, she probably will do the same thing all over again.
My exclusive interview with the alleged ringleader's son and brother when we come back. Plus, one of them gives us a tour inside what they called the House of Horrors.
This was the scene in Tacony and other neighborhoods citywide Tuesday afternoon. Police bringing in adults and children to be interviewed as the expanding investigation into the imprisoning of 4 mentally challenged adults in a sub-basement dungeon in an apartment house moved forward.
We are still trying to figure out the many components of what I would describe as an incredibly tangled web of horror.
4 adults were found held captive, starved, and chained in a basement in Philadelphia. Now, the alleged ringleader is a woman who apparently escaped detection for years. Her son Robert took us inside the House of Horrors. He lived upstairs in the same building, and he says he had no idea what was going on in the sub-basement.
I live in the same apartment building as my sister. And when my mom arrived a couple weeks ago, she was staying at my sister's apartment. I was asleep in here. It was about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. You know, finally I got a knock from my landlord who told me there were people in the basement. I came out this way. The only people that have to have a key to this would be like a tenant. As I was standing over here, they were coming up from here, out of this part of the basement, which is deep down. Nobody, would really even think about even going down there. And this is the room where they were at. It's kind of creepy. It's not a living condition that a person should be in. As I was standing here, they were just coming up. The police had them at gunpoint. Nobody knew who they were. They looked homeless. So I just thought that they were like sick from the time I saw them. And some of them couldn't walk. One of them was a handicapped person. He couldn't really walk too well, so they had to call the ambulance to come get him. She had to sneak those people in here like during the middle of the night when everyone was asleep, because nobody never knew they were down there. I really don't know how she could have got them in here without anybody seeing it.
Well, joining us via satellite in an exclusive interview is Linda's brother and one of her sons. Now, out of fear of Linda's wrath and not knowing who all could be involved and who might be watching, they've asked us not to use their real names. So Josh is her brother, Robert is her son, and in fact they're in front of the house, so Josh has chosen to look a little different in case somebody walks by in that particular moment. Josh, Robert, thank you so much for being here. This is an important story to bring into the light, and Josh, I'd like to start with you. You actually grew up with Linda being in charge pretty much of, you say, 13 brothers and sisters, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And how long did you live in that situation and circumstance, and what can you tell me about what it was like living under her control?
Well, pretty much, Dr. Phil. My mom died when at a very young age. And I was like around 7 years of age, and Linda was like second in charge, and sometimes she was actually in charge. And, you know, it was pretty frightening because a lot of times, you know, there was a lot of abuse.
Now, there were 13 of you in the house at the time, and you said that you saw a lot of incest going on, and that in fact she forced you to touch her at times.
A few times when I was younger, it was, you know, it was at her direction. Like she would force me, and you know, I think I was around 7 or 8 at that point.
There was a lot of hunger at the time. What would happen if you asked for food?
You know, it was pretty much something that was like kind of like forbidden. If you asked for food, you'd get beaten a lot of times, almost always.
You said at times it went beyond beatings. In fact, you said at one point when you asked for a piece of fruit, something really horrific was done to you. What took place?
We had a pear tree or something like that in the yard, and I'd asked, you know, for a piece of fruit from the tree. And Linda, you know, her and my older sister, they both said no. But, you know, I was extremely hungry, so I said, I'm going to, you know, pretty much get it anyway. I didn't think no one would notice. I remember pulling the fruit off the tree, and then she saw me take it. She looked up and she saw me take it, and then that's when I was, you know, hit from behind in my back. And that kind of like disturbed my walking. Like I wasn't able to walk for like a good 6 months. I had to get, you know, rehabilitation for it.
Was this the same time or a different time that they actually turned on the oven and put you inside?
Well, that particular time, that was another time. It wasn't, I forget which type of food. I was just hungry and I'd asked for something to eat, and I was told no. And I remember being forced downstairs into the kitchen, and she had ordered someone to turn on the oven. I didn't know what that was for. Maybe she was going to cook or something. And then I remember being picked up because I was small, and then put in the oven, and it seemed like it was forever. But it got real hot, and I remember burning in my flesh and skin. And I don't know, maybe for 3-5 minutes, it seemed like forever.
I'm so sorry that that happened to you. And I understand at one point, she ordered one of your older brothers to hang you outside by your feet from the second-story window.
Well, he picked me up, turned me upside down, and hung me out, you know, out of the second-story window by my feet. And I just was like dangling there, scared, you know, very scared and whatnot. It was we were very high up.
And in fact, you were around when Linda's sister, so I guess your sister as well, his boyfriend was hit in the head and put in this closet and starved to death. How much of that do you remember?
Well, I was there. You know, I remember him telling her, you know, there was a support issue of my other sisters, who's younger than Linda. There was a support issue about taking care of the child that she was about to have by him, and he said he wasn't going to do it for whichever reason, and for his beliefs or whatever. And she said okay, so he went to leave, and I remember her taking like a hammer and trying to strike him in his head. It missed him, hit his shoulder, and then she hit his head again, and then shoved him in the closet, started tying him up. And I remember him being in there partially. Then she made him hop the rest of the way inside after he was tied up and cuffed. And, you know, like I said, it was just really disturbing to see him just yelling to get out. And after that, the yells became like scratches on the door. And then I didn't hear anything again.
And you actually had to help move the body when he did finally pass away.
That's correct. That's correct.
Robert, let me ask you, were you at all surprised to find out what was going on, what's alleged to have gone on with Linda and these people in the basement?
Well, to be honest, I really wasn't surprised. You know what I mean? She has just a history of just terrible things, period. Like, we really never had no good relationship because of the things that I've heard about her.
Was this something that, I mean, I know we're talking about your mother here, but this is someone that was a source of pain for you in your life. This was not somebody that you sought to be around?
Well, I stayed with her until she had finally went to prison in 81, 82, somewhere in there, until I was about 5. And from there, I went with my great-grandparents, who I was only with shortly before I was taken from them.
Does she seem to have any sense of right or wrong? Does she seem to have any sense that what she is accused of doing here was just so over the top, out of control?
I mean, the way she feels like, and I'm just being honest, the way she feels is that she doesn't do anything wrong.
She sees nothing wrong with what she's accused of doing here?
No, she doesn't.
So no remorse, no sorrow, none whatsoever?
None.
Are you afraid of her?
Oh, you bet I'm afraid of her. When she first arrived here in town, you know, even though I live in a different apartment, I still just kept my door locked. You know what I mean? I really didn't want nobody sneaking in my apartment while I was asleep or anything like that.
We're going to take a break now, and up next we're going to find out how the woman they are calling a monster was allegedly forcing these mentally handicapped victims to have sex, essentially breeding them as a means of Social Security fraud. All of that and more when we come back.
4 victims spoke to me about what they experienced during that 2-week ordeal in the basement.
She hit me with a bat in my head, and all this was all bleeding and everything. And she did this to me too. Hit me with a bat.
4 emaciated adults were found in a Philadelphia basement, chained and trapped underground. This was a sub-basement, a kind of a mechanical room. One of the 4 victims found in the basement, Tamara Breeden, says she had 2 children while being allegedly held captive. Now, her parents hired attorney Stephen Wigreiser to help them get custody of Tamara's children. Stephen, thank you so much for being here. You and I were talking at the break. It's hard to wrap your mind around this.
It is unbelievable. I've been representing people who have been injured or worse for 33 years. I've never seen anything like this. And I just want to say I think it's very, very important for your viewers to understand that they can make a difference. And what happened in Philadelphia could happen in Los Angeles. It could happen all over the country. So it's important they know all the facts.
Well, how long do y'all believe that Tamara was being held captive by this woman?
We believe that she went missing in 2003.
She has said that in this time, however much of that time from 2003 till now that she has been under this woman's alleged control, that she has had 2 children?
She believes that she was pregnant 3 times and that one of the children did not survive.
Okay.
And of course, you can imagine the circumstances.
So the alleged scam here then is that if you have this person and she's under control, that person would get how much Social Security being disabled?
A disabled child who meets a certain income level is entitled to a Social Security check, provided that that child has a severe intellectual dysfunction or disability. I don't know the exact amount of the check.
Are we talking $300 or $1,000 a month, or what?
We're talking less. All right, it's not a lot of money.
So someone's life could wind up in this deplorable circumstance, might have been just generating a couple $100 each for these people.
It's clear that this woman had absolutely no regard for human life. She had lost at some point in her life all humanity. These are the cruelest and most hideous things that I have ever seen in my career.
And Tamara was telling us that she had been hit in her head and that it was bleeding, that she had knocked her teeth out, that sort of thing. I assume that her parents are now aware that she's been abused for all this period of time.
They are aware, they are upset, they are angry, and they are very interested, obviously, in justice being done.
So where are the children now?
I don't know where they found them. And the numbers of children have varied to between 10 and 4. So we just don't know at this point.
Yeah, number of children between 10 and 4. Now, Walt, if you can add to us here in our conversation, I understand that Linda had a niece, Beatrice, who's 19, that has been missing since she was 8. Has she been found as part of this process as well?
Yes, Beatrice has been found, Dr. Phil, but it was a horrifying set of findings. When the young woman was recovered along with some 8 or 9 other children and teenagers last Tuesday, she showed signs of simply horrifying abuse. There had been pellet guns that were fired into her ankles. Police also said that heated spoons, red-hot spoons, were applied to her flesh to cause a whole series of burns. She was malnourished, and as she sat in the headquarters of the Northeast Detective Division here, police officers who went over said she was almost frightened of everyone who even walked up to her. She was afraid to talk, and shortly after that she stopped talking, and it has been a long effort over the last few days by police, specially trained social service workers, simply to get Beatrice to begin telling about the stories. And Dr. Phil, believe it or not, in the building behind me, even as they were finding the 4 mentally challenged adults, the one of whom was chained down, this young woman, Beatrice, was being hidden in a closet upstairs, even as that was happening, and then was hustled away, only to be found a few days later.
So, Stephen, what we know is we've got these 4 that were found there. Then we have Beatrice, which was found upstairs. We've got Benita Rodriguez also found. Now you're saying that Tamara had 2 children, and Walt is saying was found with 8 or 9 other children or teenagers. So now, we're getting up into the mid-teens. I mean, obviously, this alleged ring goes beyond what we know now.
Yeah, I think the numbers are going to increase as the investigation goes forward. And keep in mind that this was a multi-state crime. We know that Weston did her ugly business in Florida and in Texas, and in Virginia as well. So it stands to reason that the numbers are going to increase.
We got to take a break. Up next, what's going to happen to Linda and her alleged associates, and what Robert and Josh want to see happen to Linda as well when we come back. We've been talking about one of the most shocking headlines in decades. Now, 4 people were found held captive in a basement just a few weeks ago. Alleged ringleader Linda Weston and 2 others were charged with kidnapping, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, unlawful restraint, and criminal trespass and conspiracy. Now, her daughter Jean was also arrested. Now, again, joining us via satellite is the CBS 3 Eyewitness News reporter Walt Hunter and Linda Weston's brother Josh and son Robert. Now, I'm here with Stephen, who is representing Tamara's parents.
That's correct, the Wanamaker's.
Right, and trying to get custody of the 2 children that Tamara reportedly had while she was under this woman's control, because they're worth more money. Now, we were talking at the break, and the system is jumping up now and saying we're charging this, but they actually had her on criminal charges before, and you said while she was in violation of probation, considered, you call it an absconder?
She was in absconder status. That's
okay, so that's an active violation of her probation.
It's an active violation of her parole.
Of her parole,
correct.
Not just probation, but parole. She had been in prison, they let her out. While she is in active violation, she goes into family court and gets awarded these children's custody.
She goes into family court and gets custody of the kids who she lost when she went to prison for starving this poor man to death. And from what I understand, and that transcript's certainly going to be hot property in Philadelphia, not one mention of her murder conviction came up during that proceeding. So the judge made the decision that he felt was best, but he can only make his decision based upon the information that's provided to him by the Department of Human Services.
Well, Robin and I have often talked about on this show, when we talk about foster care, is that there is a lack of communication between the criminal court system and the family court system, oftentimes not knowing what's going on in the other. And if somebody doesn't bring it up, how can they know? I mean, it's not the judge's fault. Now, Josh, Robert, I'm really interested in hearing from you guys. What do you want to see happen to Linda here? What do you think should happen?
Pretty much, I think she needs help, for one thing. I think she should get the much-needed help that she's been, needing for a long time. I personally don't think that she needs to be set free ever. I just think she needs lifelong help.
You think she needs help and should not be released. Robert, what do you want to see happen to her?
I don't think that she should ever get out, to be honest with you. Like, just going to prison is not really going to do any justice for her, you know what I mean? And the best thing I could say for her is maybe she needs to go to, she needs psychiatric help. Actually someone who can, get inside her head, find out, what happened.
Well, clearly that's true, and I'm all for helping people, but I'm also aware that there are certain people in this world. I've not met this woman. I've not evaluated her. I can't put this label on her. But I will tell you there are certain people in this world that have psychopathic or antisocial personalities, and they just don't feel remorse. They don't have a capacity for empathy, and their likelihood of being helped and making a significant change is very little. Now, Josh, you say you're still, and I think very understandably, struggling with trust issues. I mean, how do you ever trust anybody is your question.
Yeah, that is correct. I've learned to block a lot of things up. I call them blocking techniques as I was growing up, and to deal with my issues, of trust. If I can learn not just to block, but to deal with my trust issues this time, versus something like that, because I trusted Linda because she was my older sister, and it didn't pan out well. I would like a way not just to cope, but to get some help in trusting again.
I'll say to both of you, Josh and Robert, it really starts with getting at peace with yourself. You guys are victims here. And you're not perpetrators. You have nothing to be ashamed of. What you deserve from all of us is compassion for what was done to you at a time when you were vulnerable. You had no voice. You had no ability to fight back. And I think it is so courageous that you two men are here today to speak up and say what you're saying about this. And, it starts with claiming the right for each of you to be treated with dignity and respect. And you say, how do you trust somebody? How do you let somebody in? It starts with saying, people are going to earn the right to be in my life. They're going to earn the right to be in my space. If they treat me with dignity and respect, then they're permitted to be in that space. And if they don't, I'm gone in a flash. I'm gone in a heartbeat, because the key tool of an abuser is isolation. In order for an abuser to abuse, they have to isolate their victim. They got to cut them off from friends, family, church members, authorities, anybody that could balance the power. They have to cut them away from them. And the two of you need to say, look, I'm going to meet people first in a real public arena. I'm not going to get private with somebody. I'm not going to let somebody get close to me until they've shown me that they've earned the right to do so. And that's not going to be an easy journey for the two of you, but I am so proud that you are standing up and taking a position that what was done to you is wrong. What is allegedly being done by her now is wrong. And I just applaud you, and all of us do, for having the courage to be here and talk about this. So,
thank you.
Walt, I want to thank you, Walt. I want to thank Josh and Robert. We'll continue to follow this case as it unfolds. Stephen, thank you for being here and talking about this. Up next, we're going to look at another shocking headline. 16-year-old twins found beaten and starved. Stephen was saying earlier that our viewers need to understand that we can make a difference, that this can happen there, it can happen here. Case in point, because it certainly did happen, much different location. We'll be right back. Shocking headlines broke just a few weeks ago. From a house of horrors in Philadelphia to now another house, but this time on the West Coast. It looked upscale and normal on the outside, but on the inside, police say it was a house of torture for 16-year-old twins. Now, according to authorities, they were locked in a room and practically starved. In fact, they were often beaten if they tried to get something to eat.
A mother and current husband accused in a shocking child abuse case out of Vancouver involving 2 adopted twins and 4 other children. Allegations of starvation, beatings, and imprisonment.
2 of them were adopted years ago. The 4 others were from different spouses and different relationships.
A Vancouver police report describes the room the 2 adopted twins shared as filthy, with with no electricity, a lock on the outside window, and an alarm that sounded when the kid's door opened. Neighbors say that Jeff and Sandra Weller frequently have kids doing chores outside in the middle of the night.
Their parents are screaming at them. Their parents are hurling profanities at them at 3 in the morning.
Food in the house is under a lock and key, with the refrigerator kept secure with a bicycle lock. On a recent occasion, the kids were so hungry, one child took food to his sibling in their bedroom. The police report says when Jeff Weller found out about it, he punished the kids by making them lie on the kitchen floor with no pants or underwear. Then they are struck in their buttock region repeatedly with a wooden stick, often making them bleed. Assaults the kids told police that have happened every week for several years.
Okay, Yelena lives in the same cul-de-sac as the Wellers and says that her sisters called the police on them on more than one occasion. And what did you see and hear?
It was very angry, very, just the words that they would use would just be disturbing, the things that they would be yelling out, at the children.
And the police said to you, there's really not much we can do if we don't see some physical abuse taking place.
Yes. We asked them, me and my neighbor, we said, what can we do? We believe there's some sort of, something going on there that shouldn't be.
When you would occasionally see these twins, they were disturbingly thin.
Yes.
And the parents were actually asked about this from time to time, and what did they say?
They just said it was due to their heritage.
They're Filipino.
They're Filipino. Which,
okay. Yeah. And you believe that these twins actually stole food from your house?
Yes. They took some yogurt. We just know that just because there was a few times that my mom did see them running off when she would wake up at night.
Yeah. So you'd see them leaving the house,
Yeah.
so you just chose not to say anything?
My mom specifically told us, she said, please do not tell the parents because I think that they would probably do something, beat the children or something. At this point, this is a desperate act.
But eventually the police were called because one of the twins slipped someone a note.
Yes.
And said, we're trapped here, help us.
Yes. I did actually talk to the neighbor that lived directly behind them. She told me that she's known that they were being abused for years. She would hear actual, smacking, hitting, bashing, and she knew it was the children because she's hearing the screaming, crying for mercy, please stop.
Well, we have a copy of the arresting officer report. We're going to give you the details when we come back.
What you're seeing today is Dr. Renee Badreau completing a successful eye surgery and the dedicated hours of training in virtual reality that helped make it happen, allowing her to practice surgical techniques to increase access to quality care through immersive environments. These are the ways surgeons with Fundamental VR and Orbis are using the metaverse today.
Injured but eager to get back to work safely? Our attorneys at Workers' Comp Law will fight for your rights while ensuring a stress-free process. Click now for a free consultation and let's pave the way for your smooth return.
Well, we've been talking to Yelena, the neighbor of 16-year-old twins who were beaten, starved, and locked in a room by their adoptive parents, according to the police. Now, we were able to obtain the arresting officer's declaration of probable cause. And here are some of the highlights. The officers learned that Sandra and Jeff Weller were caregivers and guardians of 16-year-old twins adopted by Sandra in California at 2 years old. These twins were interviewed separately and gave the same story. The home has been under lock and key. They are fed small amounts of food on an average of once a day. When I say lock and key, doorknobs were taken off of their room where there was no electricity. If they were caught stealing food, their punishment, they both had to lie on the kitchen floor with no pants or underwear, get struck with a wooden stick, which often made them bleed. Now, the husband administered, but the wife supervised the punishments. And this happened at least once a week and has occurred for several years. And these twins were not allowed to interact with other family members here. They were not permitted to leave the room other than to complete chores. They're not allowed to sit with the family. They weren't allowed to touch other family members. They couldn't use the same utensils that the other family members used. So how do you feel that this was happening on your street in suburban America?
Like I said, I mean, you know, if we knew what was going on, yeah, I mean, from what we saw, we tried. We tried to get involved, but there is a certain line of privacy you do have to respect.
Right. Well, the worst thing we can do with an abuse victim or a bully victim is say, reach out to someone responsible and in authority. They do, and nothing happens, or even worse, they get outed for having tried. That's the worst violation that you can do to that child's sensibilities or their safety. We've got to pay attention to what's going on around us. We truly do. We'll be right back. Today's show has been a subject matter that's not easy to talk about. I want to thank all of my guests that have helped us have this, what I think is an important dialogue. A special thanks to CBS 3 Philadelphia reporter Walt Hunter and attorney Stephen Wigreiser. Thank you so much for being here and talking about this. I know you've got DNA hurdles to clear and all sort of things, but can you imagine what these kids have been through, and now they've got this very able advocate working for them. So God bless you for what you're doing here.
Thank you.
For more information on today's show, please go to drphil.com, and let's make a resolve, all of us, to pay attention to what's going on around us, because we might be sitting right here being safe and secure, and someone in the very next house could be hoping and praying that you are going to be the one that comes and brings some help for them. Thanks for being here so long.
I love it. I'm excited. I love this song. We're both so busy. Doesn't matter. I'm still going to be the one to watch it and everything. Sometimes there are meh ones. They were quite well done. Well, that's good to know, because I enjoyed the first one that I saw, which I'm pretty sure was the first one. But don't talk about any details, because if people haven't seen them, we don't want to spoil it all. All right. No. I don't need this on anymore. Absolutely. I'll try and watch a couple. I was watching a couple different shows. People recommended a couple of things, and I'd watch a few episodes and then stop. Oliver recommended Discovery of Witches. Rob was talking about Afterlife. I watched the first 2 episodes of a bunch of those, and I just never went back to any of them. I enjoyed them. Actually, no, I watched 4 episodes of Discovery of Witches. I committed to 2 whole weekends. What I do when I watch these shows, especially if they're hour long, is I only watch 2 a weekend, or maybe 2 a day, because my cold little heart. Sorry. Because if I watch more than that, I will stop paying attention. I know that about myself, so in my heart, in this cold heart. So I just decide to temper how much I watch, so that when I do watch, I can like pay attention to what I'm watching, right? In this cold heart. Well, I do like to cry. I've tried a few animes. I haven't particularly like enjoyed the genre as a whole. Like I just don't think it's my thing, but I've given like 4 or 5 different animes the old college try. I watched a full couple of series. I watched a movie. I kind of gave up on one of the ones on Netflix, Agrigetso. It's like a little worker in an office who likes to do scream punk karaoke. But I like the idea of crying, so I might be interested in. I'm always willing to try new stuff, right? I just don't know if anime is my thing, and that's okay, right? Like, it doesn't have to be everybody's thing. If sad and traumatic fantasy is the vibe, I can't recommend Berserk enough. I've heard a lot about Berserk. Isn't Berserk the one that also has like a lot of the like novels, the manga? I feel like my friend Prowler, who was here earlier, yes, aha! I feel like we've talked about that. You were reading it, weren't you? I feel like you've also said that it's very traumatic. Zootopia, but more adult. Ooh. Here's the other thing. I don't know if I need more stuff to watch, right? Like, there's already so much stuff. As a non-anime girly, I love it. Oh, the manga is like up to episode 400 at this point. Okay. I'm going to put these in for 15 minutes. Not for everyone. It's pretty intense. Yeah. Which is fair. But I'm also willing to try stuff, right? So. Hold for 1 second, please. That's a heavy bitch. That is a heavy lady. Hi, Nikki. How are you today? All right, let's get these finished, huh? Oh no! Nikki, that sucks. I'm so sorry. So sorry, Nikki. Do they think they'll be able to get your money back? Torchwood. I need to watch Torchwood. I know of Torchwood. I think I might have seen an episode of Torchwood, but I have not watched it. To put to air. Oh my goodness. Good. I do need to watch Torchwood. I love John Barrowman. I loved his character until Monday morning. Were you able to at least turn your card off, like in an app or something? I'm sorry, Nikki. That fucking blows. For the Golden Age arc, nobody told me, and it was heavily implied. Yes. Well, and that's what I said, like, Prowler, when he and I have talked about it with our friend Mermy, he has said, like, it is very intense. It is very, it can be, like, have trigger issues. Because sometimes you have to be careful. Like, you did, a decent job, right, of, like, censoring yourself. But sometimes for some people, I turned it off, but they spent my rent. Fuck me. I'm so sorry, Nikki. I'm so sorry. Prowler was pretty specific with us, like that there is some traumatic stuff. Of course you are. Do you have like a person for a landlord or a company?